Hello and welcome to EduCurious, where we highlight exceptional educators and dive deep into complex issues. Today's guest is Reid Hardman. He is the co-founder of the Orange Blossom Revue, and he also serves as the vice president on the Blossom Foundation. Welcome, Reid. Thank you so much for being on the show today.
Good morning. Thank you, Amber.
I love the Orange Blossom Revue. It's something that brings so many people together in the community of Lake Wales. I want to hear a little bit about how you conceived the idea with Rusty and how you got started making this event so impactful in our community.
Rusty and I were both in Rotary, and Rotary had a 40-year tradition of doing a annual barbecue fundraiser. So they would cook barbecue, sell tickets. We co-chaired that for 6 years before we were ever the Orange Blossom Revue. And that was a sort of a slow evolution. We did it at the high school, then we did it at the Methodist church. And we thought, well, if we could just get a little music, that would be the greatest thing ever. We're both kind of music nerds. That's really where a lot of the core of our minds, that's where we synced up. And we had Sticky Steve and the Pollinators, local bluegrass band, play on the stage in the fellowship hall at church. And we thought, well, boy, we've kind of reached the pinnacle. But kind of got when Rusty was following some of the barbecue craze that was going on, still going on. And we evolved that into Orange Blossom Revue for the first time in 2014 as a barbecue competition. But we had 50 barbecue teams on site from 2014 until 2019. So it was a whole different thing, but we always had music. That's sort of what drove us. We weren't barbecue guys, but we thought that was a great hook, and it was good for Lake Wales, and it smelled awesome, and the food was great. So that sort of ran its course for us, as did our association with Rotary. So great love for Rotary. It just became a much bigger operation, and we knew that it was kind of getting too big and growing too fast to sort of keep it where it was. And honestly, it can be a risky thing putting on a music festival, and you have to be really careful. And we weren't comfortable asking Rotary to kind of put themselves out there with no sort of guarantee of a return. And so we took on all that risk, and in 2021 became Blossom Charitable Foundation. Well, it's Orange Blossom Revue, but BCF puts that event on. So this is now our fifth OBR as run by Blossom Charitable Foundation.
So this Blossom Charitable Foundation, many of you might be wondering what's the connection between Orange Blossom Revue and an education podcast, but really the heart and soul of your organization is the community, the volunteers, the students that help put on the event, but also the way that you give back to your community. So jump into that about how you are able to bring so many different people together.
It's funny with Rusty. He and I always had this sort of idea, I think, from having grown up in Lake Wales, that the physical space that we put the event on, it was always the art show, another event, Pioneer Day, which my mom started and ran for 40 years. And so having events down at that place was always special. It was always family friendly, and always a place that we just kind of grew up going there as kids. And so, and our children are about the same age. And we thought, well, this is just a tradition that needs to continue. And was. I mean, Mardi Gras is down there now. So there's always stuff going on. And we just thought we had something different to offer, and that it's sort of if you build it, they will come kind of thing. So we always had sort of the kids and the volunteers in the background. We knew that it would take a lot to grow it. And he and I just did it for fun. This is like a crazy expensive hobby for us. That's the way it's just turned out. And we do it because we love Lake Wales, and because we want a sense of community, and wanted an event that made it distinct, that sort of stood on its own as something different that wasn't being offered elsewhere. So from the beginning, it was a heavy lift. We had volunteers there, Rotary in the beginning, and a lot of those Rotarians still stick around and help out. But we always had a lot of kids helping. And that's kind of grown into something, because we have so many volunteers. We're over 100 volunteers every year. It's like herding cats, because you have kids that have never been there before, or adults that have never been there before. But now the high school is used to us coming and knocking at their door. We've got online registration. We know how many people we need at each position. That's always changing because the event's always growing in different ways. But we have a much better handle on it than we used to about what are the needs, how many people do we need to show up on Sunday morning when it's time to take down, all those things. And it's a heavy lift, and Rusty and we're not getting any younger. So we're always thinking about how do you push kids in the community, not to just get volunteer hours because they need that. And the, charter school um, requires that, or maybe a lot of schools do now, I guess. But we needed that because it was important to us that we involve as many people. Now we have sort of a generation of kids that grew up volunteering at Orange Blossom and bring their friends back when they get to college. We hear about all the time. They bring in kids from Winter Haven that volunteer, or some charter kids that came to Lake Wales for high school are familiar with it. So it's really been great to sort of see that evolve, and that kids have a tradition and don't want to miss it. Coming to Orange Blossom Revue over here.
And something that's so important is instilling the importance of community within our younger students. You grew up here. I want to hear about your life, how you became so passionate about Lake Wales, because that's your legacy, that's your heritage, is you are a Lake Wales man.
My dad's side, his family came here in around 1920. And then dad, of course, was born here, grew up here, graduated Lake Wales High School, came back after he got married to mom in 1965. And he was just like, hometown boy, comes back. My mom was interesting because she's from Western Kentucky, but when she came here, she sort of adopted Lake Wales as her unofficial hometown. And so in 1976, she opened what is now the Lake Wales History Museum, and it's the old 1926 train depot that's still there. And what a kind of legacy and a landmark for Lake Wales. I remember being in that room, and I was probably 5 or 6 years old when that renovation was taking place. Like the interior of the depot was being built out to be made into a museum. And then just mom doing Pioneer Day. Both sides of my family are deep into family and genealogy. Like being the youngest in the family was like the greatest thing ever, because I got to be around all of it and grow up with what I thought were sort of the cool kids. I could listen to their music. And so community, mostly through Pioneer Day that mom started. So after the museum got it going, she started Pioneer Day, which is sort of like a celebration of the pioneer spirit and pioneer way of life. She would honor Pioneer of the Year. Every year they would have like this secret decision-making process about people that came here in the early days. And she knew all the Lake Wales history. So I didn't realize it, but I was soaking up all that stuff my entire youth. So all the books that came out, all the pictures that came back, all postcards, all that stuff was just in my life all the time. And mom was an extrovert. And so she was always out there meeting people, shaking hands, trying to raise money for different projects in Lake Wales, not single-handedly, but she got to historic districts designated in Lake Wales. They did a book on all the historic buildings in town. She got what is now Bach North, that 9-acre property, got the county to donate that for free to the city back in the 90s, raised money for all those buildings, and just on and on and on. So that stuff, just being around it, sort of, like I said, just soaked up for me. So it seems weird, maybe to some, that Rusty and I have done Orange Blossom Revue, but I think it took the element of community. And then for both of us, we're both music guys, always have been, completely driven, mildly obsessed with music of all kinds. And that's just the thing that we had in common. We sit around and talk about music all the time. That's the sense of community. The other part of it is Lake Wales. We have a marketer for Orange Blossom Revue, and she said that this is Rusty and it's our love letter to Lake Wales, Orange Blossom Revue. And we had never said that to her. We had never used that line. We don't really traffic in that kind of language too much, I would say. But she's been with us for 3 or 4 years now, and she got it just from talking to us. She recognized through all of our interactions that this is kind of what we're about. And it may be like a crazy thing. People say, well, how did you get here? It doesn't seem totally strange on some level that we've done this, because it's just a natural extension of what we're already doing. We love Lake Wales. We're community-minded people. We love people, and we love music, and it all just sort of coalesced and came together. And here we are.
What other organizations are you partnering with to make this possible and to help it grow? And what do you want in the future to make it even better for our Lake Wales community?
Either out of just trying to bring people into the fold, or sometimes just out of a desperate need to have labor and help to put on the event. We pull a lot from the local colleges. So Warner and Weber, baseball, softball, soccer teams, usually the athletic programs have been really good to us. Sometimes we're driving golf carts. There's stuff that goes on out like in VIP parking or in main parking. I don't ever get out there during the weekends. It's a different batch every year. I mean, you get some repeat people that are progressing through their school, but they're out there every year trying to do their part. And same with the high school kids. Sometimes maybe honor society could be the swim team. We get a lot of help. We've had help from the care center for sure. We've had help from Refuge on the Ridge the last few years, which is a Christian recovery operation. And they send guys down usually in the days leading up. So there's things like you never think about: camping layout. We've got to kind of spray paint those spaces when people show up and they get a tent space they've paid for. They got to know where to put their tent. All that's going to be marked off ahead of time. So a lot of organizations like that Citizens Banks sent people down before in the early days. They used to help with parking, staking it out, because they help a lot with the art show. Some organizations will kind of come in for a while and then it sort of runs its course and they move on to different things. I mean, it's a lot of community, but we pull a team from, gosh, we have a t-shirt vendor from Montana. Our marketers in Knoxville. Most of our production, backstage music production, stage production, most of them are from North Carolina. So it's sort of like we're bringing people into the community in a way that is interesting. I once said the first year we came out on stage right before the show started in 2014, and I made some comment. I said all I ever wanted was a traffic jam. I just wanted it to be on the radar enough to where we were bringing people into Lake Wales, because especially now with all the growth that's happened, Lake Wales as a community it's more distinct now than it ever was. But now there's so much that's just sort of blends in up and down Highway 27, and communities are losing what makes them special. And thankfully, we've always had Bach Tower. We've always had this sense of history, even for such a small downtown. We revel in it. That's special. And people come into Lake Wales and we get remarks about how unlikely the festival is. You know, we're not in a large secluded space. We're not on a farm. We're not at the airport. We're not on festival grounds. We're in this little spit of dirt that's no more than 300 or 400 feet wide between the lake and Lakeshore Boulevard. And it's in downtown. Famously, among the inner circle, we laugh about 2022 and how the stage was literally 200 feet from the goalpost in the end zone of the football field during the state playoff game. I don't think that stuff happens elsewhere with with a festival that's attracting 3,000 people. It's just kind of weird that, and we're in the middle of a neighborhood and somehow it works. And it's kind of what makes us special is Lake Wales is a little bit of this, a little oddball, but I say that with a lot of love. It's just not like other places that I've been and visited. I like it here. We want to keep it special, and OBR is just our way of sort of contributing to that.
What other areas does the foundation contribute to, whether it be helping connect students or actually giving back in some sort of donation? What are your big areas, your main focus, or maybe the mission vision of that?
One I would point out would be Sandy's Music Girls. Sandy was a wife of Steve Morrison, and she founded this program to bring music to young girls. And that's something we've been kind of a part of. They may have started the same year that OBR did. So we've always supported them. They've been on stage at different times, not in the last few years, but I think way back when they were. So that's one that we think of. It's tricky with the financial. We're a nonprofit. And so it's hard to sort of, it's a risky business. Our growth has been such that we often don't have a lot of budget left, but when we do, we've given that away to other programs at schools. And But that's one that I would highlight. Warner, the ball teams at some of the local universities, we've supported those over the years financially.
What great exposure for a college student to put on their resume that they were instrumental in a community music festival weekend. It really does give back, and it doesn't have to be just that hand of money. It is that experience and those connections, which is what Like Wales is all about, which is the connections. So, talk a little bit more about what else you think makes Lake Wales so unique and your hopes and dreams for our community as we expand and as we make sure that we are educating our students and putting out into the world great members of society.
I'll share an experience. I was up maybe in 2018. We were at that time sort of pushing the craft brew thing was happening, and I went up to a large outdoor brewing festival in Orlando, and this illustrates sort of the challenge that we have to attract people to Lake Wales, but also what makes it special. I've always taken Lake Wales as a little bit of an underdog, but I like that. I'm okay with that. So I'm at this festival and I had little cards that we made up that said Orange Blossom Revue, Music Festival, and Craft Brew Festivals. I'm walking around and handing these things out, and this is a big festival in Orlando. And this guy stops me and he goes, "What do you got there?" So I handed it to him and he said, "Lake Wales, where's that?" I said, "Well, it's down in Polk County." He looked at me, he handed me the card back. He said, "You know there's nothing going on in Polk County, right?" And I said, "Well, if this is going on," and it was just kind of funny to me because when you're in a metropolitan market, that seemed to be sort of a pervasive view of small town, and Polk County is a little bit sandwiched between. It's not Tampa, it's not Orlando, it's not Disney, it's not Miami, whatever. So people just sort of dismiss it. I'm okay with that because I think it's enabled us to sort of in the beginning stay under the radar, sort of give us a chance to get our footing, our identity, and now we're 2,500, 3,000 people. We're selling tickets in 37 states, 6 different countries, oddly. I say that because people are coming here. It's strange to them that there's a music festival here, that what is Lake Wales? I never knew this was here. That's sort of a phrase that you get like, wow, we didn't even know that this was a thing. We didn't know that you could do this. How is it that you did this? It seems unlikely. You're not a primary market, you're not even a secondary market. You're sort of like tertiary, like you're out in the boonies. And that's okay. We come back to the word respite. We think of Lake Wales as a respite from a little bit of the chaos that's going on in the rest of the world, even up on our doorstep sometimes, that we still have these things, the lake, the park, Bach Tower, downtown, that have maintained sort of their integrity as a community, integrity as the way they function. We've got schools there, we've got auditoriums, we've got a downtown that's slowly coming into focus. This whole new concept that the city's been pushing, a city in a garden, all these things continue to work together. I mean, this is stuff that I heard about from my parents when I was a little kid.
I want you to walk us through, in case somebody who's watching has never been to the Orange Blossom Revue, walk us through what that weekend looks like, what those experiences are, how it unfolds over that weekend in December.
So we stuck with the Friday, Saturday model. And in fact, this year we are allowing our campers to come in on Thursday. So that is a first. And it'll be interesting to see what that looks like. But normally what happens is on Friday morning is when campers start showing up. So we have tent camping and we have RV camping, about, I'll say roughly 70 tent campers and about 70 RVs. Checking for them it's a lot because they all sort of tend to show up at once. Getting that done takes a whole team of volunteers. The stage is already set up about Wednesday. The fence, everything else pretty much is in place by late Thursday afternoon. It better be because it's going to be hard if not. Gates open at 3 on Friday, and we'll have a line of people waiting to see those first bands, which will go on probably about 4:30. And usually the last band leaves the stage about 10 o'clock at night. So a lot goes on outside the gates of the actual festival. That's where all the camping and parking is. Inside the gates is where you got all the bars, all the vendors, and the stage. We have a large VIP tent, which is always a lot of fun. Those are separate tickets. That tent's about 80 feet long and 40 feet wide. We have 3 other general admission bars. Last year, we had about 10 food trucks, everything you can imagine that you'd want to eat, including dessert, and then probably about 10 merchandise vendors, not counting our own merchandise like Orange Blossom Revue merchandise tents. So we print our own t-shirts, all kinds of stickers, year prior t-shirts. All the artists bring their garb, t-shirts and albums, CDs into our merch while they're on site. And so that's sort of the first day. Second day is much the same. Gates open at noon and they go to about 10 o'clock at night. Every year we try to push our limit a little more. And that's been really fun. It's something that sort of things have really started to gel the last couple of years. I would say last year was when I felt it most, that we had so much opportunity, more than we'd ever had, and more than we sort of had the bandwidth to manage. And that's unique. Like the phone is ringing a lot more, so to speak, about what about this? What about that? So last year, for instance, was the first year we offered a second stage. And our goal was, well, if we could pull it off and we could do it for super cheap and not go too overboard because budgets are always tight, then let's do it and make it successful. And we did. We had a lot of local bands, a couple that were from out of town, and they were playing opposite the main stage because they're so close together. You couldn't really have them planned at the same time. Last year, we also added 28 new parking spaces over on 5th Street, which is by the play park. If you know where the tennis courts and the Methodist church are, it's a big field right there. This year, we're keeping those, and we're also adding, some would refer to it as glamping. It's really not. We have pre-pitched tents. So they are turnkey. If you want to come, you want to be close to the festival, you don't want to haul your own gear, but you like staying in a tent, they're turnkey. They set up, the beds are there, and you can check in and stay right on site in a tent. We also have added RV rentals. So these are empty RVs that when you show up on site, they are turnkey also, and they'll be over kind of by Crystal Lake, sort of near the 28 that I mentioned. They'll be right on the shore of Crystal Lake, which is just a block away. So those are the little ways that we're adding to the festival every year. We're going to bring in the opportunity for campers to come in on Thursday night. We've never done that before. We felt like 3 days is more what they would like to see. If you're driving an RV in, 2 days might be too short of a stay to sort of justify it. So it lets them kind of come in, set up, and have a longer weekend. Music wise, our lineup changes every single year. We have done just 2 bands that repeated themselves over the course. Wood Brothers were there for 3 years. JJ Gray was there for 2 years. Other than maybe like some small bands, local guys, we don't repeat our bands. So it's a new lineup every year. The lineup announce is a big deal. So we attract a different set of fans every year. And it's always fun to watch and see who shows up to see their band. We added a VIP viewing right in front of the stage last year. That was another thing that came on.
I'm interested in getting involved in some capacity. Where do I start? When do you start meeting the volunteers to plug in and get trained and get going?
That'll start in the fall, but there's always one big meeting we've got sort of department heads now. There's a camping team and there's a VIP team. There's a parking team. We'll usually do those usually about the Tuesday night of Orange Blossom Revue week. And people come, they check in, they get their volunteer t-shirt, which is a big kind of I won't say collector's item, but people, yes, exactly. Thank you for wearing. I didn't even notice you had that on until just now. That's a big thing. And so sometimes you get groups that will kind of try to come in together. The athletic teams tend to all work together in different shifts. Pretty soon we'll be going back into the layout, but we'll be allocating, like for instance, the RV rental area. That's growing. Camping check-in is more of it's a heavier lift than it used to be. We'll probably allocate additional assets there. We'll put more volunteers over in that area to help people get parked and in place. Little moves like that, as you know, take a lot of coordination on the front end. Like, okay, well, how many slots are we going to allow? Because you don't want to sign up a whole bunch of people and then you don't really need them. And likewise, you don't want to put too few spots there because you actually need more bodies there for longer or whatever it is. So yeah, I would say that you could check that probably now, but we might not be taking registrations until September. something like that.
So stay tuned for September for that to drop. And are there opportunities to help with things way prior, like hanging up flyers or getting the word out? Or is it just a whole gamut? Check the website and go from there.
We have some close friends that started putting up posters in Winter Haven. That's their sort of territory. And we print, they're usually 11 by 17, has the lineup on it, says Orange Blossom Revue. We got the new logo out. You've seen that. We've been on a wildlife kick for a few years. So this year's, you got the sandhill crane on yours. And this year it's an owl. And so that will be on the poster, and those posters will go up all over Winter Haven. We've got some that kind of go out in Lake Wales, but that's been not as organized. If you got a handful of people out there that are like gung ho and really want to go knock on doors and tackle businesses and be slightly pushy, but very polite in getting up posters, then you can reach out to us and we'll find a place to fit people in for sure.
And what if I want to donate money, donate whatever? How would I get plugged in with that, with helping this organization?
All that information is on the website as well. Just go poke around there and you'll see references to the Blossom Charitable Foundation, what we're about, what we do, what we're hoping for, and you can donate there.
So, any other things that you would like to make sure the Lake Wales community knows, that in particular educators, teachers, students know, that can help with collaboration or with pulling off an event of this magnitude?
Yeah, I would say that the weekend, Orange Blossom Revue represents a great chance for personal growth and really how to be responsible. There's something to be said about going out into the world, into the job market, where you need some interpersonal communication skills. That's a big thing just personally for me. I have my own business. I'm engaging with clients all the time. If you're in the working parking, that's the first engagement that people coming to the festival are going to have, is with the people that are working, volunteering for us in the parking. So what are the expectations? How do you communicate? Looking people in the eye, being helpful, not waiting for someone to approach you, but approaching people and saying, can I help you with something? If they look like they're confused about where they need to be, because it's a lot. They got to park, they got to get on a golf cart, they're brought to the entrance. Do they have their ticket information ready? We've got wristbands now that we're cashless. And so all those things take people along the way to sort of help them understand where it's not hard, but it just takes people that are knowledgeable and sort of working from a little bit of a script, either just a verbal teaching from a leader or an actual written script to know what to do and where and how to talk to people. So I think OBR is good that way. Never mind the actual work. There's a lot of hard work. If you're working in drinks, you're moving lots of cans and bottles all over the place. And we have big bins that are getting pushed around, relocating soda to the different bar or whatever. So there's lots of opportunities there for growth. And I think those are stuff that you might get a taste of in school, but this is kind of real world.
Lots of areas to plug in and benefit the hometown community of Lake Wales. And I'm so grateful just growing up here as well that there is something that I am so incredibly proud of, that I can bring out of town friends to and include them in a celebration of Lake Wales and the community. So thank you for what you and Rusty have done in our community. I know it's going to continue to grow, and I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Amber. And you've been a part of that, as so many have.
Whether you're a teacher, a parent, or just EduCurious, join the community as we explore various educational topics and learn from each other. We'll see you next time.